This is lesson 4-6b, and you're going to find that it is more algebra. It's going to remind you a lot of what we did in chapter 2. What we're going to be dealing with is a formula in which they ask us to isolate the variable. Then on a couple of problems on your assignment, they're going to ask you to isolate the variable and then use that new formula to solve the problem. So we're going to go through some examples of how to isolate a variable. We use the properties that are used to solve equations. The first formula here is the perimeter of a rectangle. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, and we want to solve this equation for W. My advice to you is to use the reflexive principle and rewrite the problem as 2L plus 2W equals P. Then it might be a lot easier for you to deal with. Now, if we look on the left-hand side, we want to isolate W. What we do not need is this 2L, 2 times the length. So we are going to subtract that. 2L plus 2W minus 2L. Now, you know from equations, if we subtract it from the left side, we have to subtract it from the right side. Now, on the left side, we will have 2W, and on the right side, left side will have 2W, on the right side, we will have P minus 2L. Remember that we want W, so we are going to undo that coefficient, multiplying by the reciprocal, or in this case, dividing, since 2 times W is the equation. W is going to equal perimeter minus 2 times the length, and then divide by 2. And that is actually the lowest that we can reduce that particular equation. Circumference equals pi d. Now again, if you're more comfortable with it, then write pi d equals c. We want pi, we don't want d. The equation says that the formula says we're taking pi times d, so I need to divide by d. Therefore, pi is going to equal circumference divided by the diameter. The formula for c should look very familiar. It is our slope-intercept format for a line. Now again, let's rewrite it. mx plus b equals y. We want the x, so we look at the left side. The first thing we don't want is b, so we're going to subtract that. Remember that you cannot do 2 operations in one step. So we're going to subtract the b from both sides. That will leave me with mx equals y minus b. Now, I want the x. I don't want m. So I will divide both sides by m. I divide because this over here, right here, says m times x, so I need to divide to undo it. Therefore, x is going to be y minus b, divide by m. This particular formula says t equals 1/5 d. We want to solve for b, so again, let's rewrite it using the reflexive principle. Now, look at this one, folks. This is a one-step formula / equation, just like we've been doing with rational numbers. And we are going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the coefficient. This cancels, so I have 1b left. What I'm really doing is taking t times 5. And generally, we write the coefficient first. Okay, E can look a little tricky. This actually is the volume of a sphere. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. We want to solve for pi. Now remember, we really should not do more than one operation in any step. So I'm going to rewrite it as 4/3 pi r cubed equals v. Now I check, what don't I want? I don't want the r cubed, I don't want the 4/3. I'll tell you right now, multiplying by the reciprocal of that coefficient 4/3 should be the last thing you do, because it's just easier if you don't, okay? We don't want the r cubed, so we are going to divide both sides by r cubed. R cubed divided by r cubed is 1, so I have 4/3 pi equals v over r cubed. Now again, I have an equation slash formula very similar to what I've been working with rational numbers, and I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of that coefficient. Now, this is 1, this is 1, so I'm down to 1 pi. Now here's where I have to apply my multiplying rational numbers. Numerator times numerator, so I'm going to have 3v. Denominator times denominator, I'm going to have 4r cubed. Is it wrong to say v3 over r cubed 4? No, but it's awkward. We usually use the numerical coefficients first. And that is the end of lesson 4-6b. Scouting out.